Hey everybody. I love the topic that's been coming up a lot in the group, and it's sex. Who doesn't want to talk about sex, right? It's funny because other than a coach, I've been actually a health educator for the past 16 years. So you can't really throw me off. I've been talking about sex and getting paid to talk about it for actually 17 years. So this is not something that is out of my repertoire. And I can tell you that there's, from a lot of different perspectives, there's good reasons why you should not be staying with someone just purely for the sex. So let's kind of talk through some of the different reasons why people stay and use sex as an excuse, and then why that's not a very healthy thing to be doing. So first of all, okay, let's first talk about how, from the health teacher perspective, let's talk about the STDs. So of course, I'm sure you all are very well aware of this, but I always say to students of mine, boys have outies and girls have innies. So what does that mean? Well, realistically, STDs are more easily gotten for females. Females, because our sexual organs are internal, we get STDs more easily. So when you are having unprotected sex with someone, I can't even say unprotected sex with someone, you're actually increasing your chances of getting an STD. And of course, whatever STDs, whoever they've been with, whatever STDs they have, if they've been cheating, if they've been sleeping around, if they're using drugs and alcohol, and they're not making the best choices, there is a good chance that you could get that STD. And of course, males, obviously you're in there too. It's just a higher chance even for women. Number two, women, we're the ones who have babies. So unless you know, oh, hi Michelle, unless you know that you're comfortable having a child with someone, the sex part is there to make babies, right? So there's no such thing realistically as an unplanned pregnancy. If you're having unprotected sex, then you're planning on having a child with them. Do you trust that other person to protect you? Who do you trust really in this whole situation? Ladies, we're the ones who will normally have that child. Do you want to be attached to that guy? Guy, do you want to be attached to that girl for the rest of your life? So it's something to keep in the back of your mind when you are having a sexual relationship with someone. And those toxic relationships, I had a friend of mine, a guy, and he was having what he thought was like friends with benefits. And they were, using alcohol, and they had sex. He ejaculated inside of her, and then afterwards she said, oh, by the way, I'm off the pill. They now have a 1.5-year-old child. He's dealing with the courts, dealing with visitation. He wants to see his child. He can't, and she's crazy, and he's got to deal with that for the rest of his life, because he was thinking that she was taking care of it, and she didn't really care. She wasn't really thinking about it at all. So, and then of course the other perspective, there's a lot of people, and I know for myself, when I was in my toxic relationship, I know my ex-husband actually really wanted to have children. And I remember actually after we broke up, after I decided to get a divorce, there was a period of time where we were still having sex. And I was in a depression, I was feeling really terrible about myself, and basically sex was just being used to get things. He would say to me, well, if you want me to help you, then you should at least let me have sex with you. And I was so numb and feeling so just depressed, because I was really in a major depression. I didn't care. It was like it wasn't my body. And I remember one time we actually did have sex, and he came inside me on purpose. So that very next day, I took the morning after pill. So I had to deal with that. And then, I decided from there on out, I was not going to be having sex with him at all, because the last thing I needed to do was reattach myself to someone who I already knew was toxic when I'd already left. I'd already gotten out. So why do we go back in when we're already out? Then there's that reattachment again. Another thing to add on to it, the attachment for sex in general. Ladies, we are much more, it is easier for us to be attached to someone with sex. Guys, more often they can just have sex. It's not as big of a deal. Women, we might start off by saying, hey, we can just have sex and no strings attached, but women will more easily get attached. So that's what happens when you're having sex with someone. There you're recommitting to the relationship. So every time you're having sex with that person, it's like you're recommitting. And again, I'll use myself as an example. The exes that I had that were toxic relationships, I would say to myself, well, the sex is so great, so I'm just going to have sex with him. And then we would have sex, and then I'd feel reconnected, And then I'd say, oh, okay, well, I'm having sex with him. The sex is really great. I don't really know what else is out there. I might as well just stick to this. This is what I know. I don't want to be sleeping around with people. I don't know what's going on out there. But I didn't know realistically what was going on right there in my own relationship. You know, were they cheating? Were they out with other people? Were they looking at other people? I kept getting accused of being the cheater, and I know I wasn't. So a lot of times when people are doing the accusing, you know that that's really actually going through their head. And sometimes they're actually, you know, doing the thing that they're accusing you of. They love to do that. You know, they love to project all the things that they're doing on you. Women, another example that I'd like to give my students is, and you know, and again, I have a double master's degree in health education. So this is stuff that I know, and I know all the consequences of it, but when you're in it and you're in all that toxic, you just kind of get sucked in. And, you know, I think we're taught that sex is not a big deal. You know, you listen to music, you watch movies, it's like everyone is having sex. So you kind of feel like, well, I'm in a relationship, I need to be having sex with someone. But you kind of have to think about it as you're like a flower. What happens when the petals of the flower, you keep touching the petals? They start to wilt, right? It starts to not be as pretty. The flower starts to like fall apart, the leaves fall off, the little petals fall off. And you have to kind of think of yourself as that flower. You know, the more that you go around giving your energy out and allowing someone to have sex with you, you know, the more willed you are, the more possibilities of the STDs, of the unplanned pregnancies, the emotional draining that you have. And for everyone who says the sex is great, well, what about the after part? When you're worried about the STDs, when you're worried about the unplanned pregnancies, when you're worried about having a connection with someone that you're not happy with, it's not a healthy relationship. What about all those things? Because again, you know, I always love to say, okay, the sex is great, but what do you do the other 23 and a half hours of the day? I'm being nice. What do you do with the rest of your time? So there's gotta be more than just the sex. So if you can get yourself out of that and you allow yourself to really, you know, before you jump into the sexual part of a relationship, for those of you who are saying, hey, you know what, I think I'm ready to start dating again, maybe put off that sexual part for a while. It should be an honor for someone to have sex with you. This is your body that you are giving to someone else. That's the most intimate that you can possibly be, is to have a sexual relationship with someone. So if you are looking to start dating, maybe before the sexual part comes in, you really get to know them on a deeper level. You get to know who they are. You know, are they worthy enough of having sex with? We have to start treating our bodies like temples. And listen, if you are completely into just having sex and not having a relationship, I am not giving you a hard time about that at all. But a lot of the people that I am hearing talk about sex, these are people that want to be in committed relationships. They want someone to share their life with. So they're kind of just giving themselves, you know, giving up on themselves, and they're not, you know, asking for everything that they want. And so they're just getting sex, hoping that it's going to turn into something that it probably is never going to be. If it's not healthy, having sex is not going to make it healthier. In fact, having sex is going to make it worse. And again, ladies, we get more attached. So that every time we have more sex, the more attached we get to that person that we're having sex with. And so for those of you who are looking for a long-term relationship, you know, definitely look at the actual relationship. Is this person your best friend? Do they deserve to have that intimate part of you, that intimate piece of you? Do they deserve it? You're special. It should be an honor for someone to be with you. Stop selling yourself short. And I can tell you from experience that obviously I have been in that spot where I kept going back and back to the good sex. It was good sex. What am I going to get? What's going to be out there? I did it. I was there. Once you allow yourself to separate and say, you know what? Good sex is only part of it. You allow yourself to separate, you feel the pain, you go through all the other parts of healing, because it's, you know, not just the sex, it's all these other, the pain, the fear, the feeling like you're going to be isolated, you're going to be alone, you're not good enough, someone left me, you know, the despair, all these, the shame, the guilt, all these different feelings that we have. We kind of push through that. And if we can push through that and get to the other side, then on the other side is the possibility of finding someone that is your best friend, that you get to have the beautiful experience of life of living, of seeing all the great countries, the great cities, the great people, the great experiences, the journey, the excitement, all of those wonderful things with your best friend that you get to have sex with. And I can tell you that when you get to have sex with your best friend, the sex is way better because you can communicate what feels good, what doesn't feel good. You can be open and honest. You can tell them if you're not in the mood or if you are. You know, you can be on the same page with your sexual chemistry. You can let them know, you know, I mean, you have to be able to say, everyone's got different interests in sex. I mean, come on. Some people want to have sex every day. Some people want to have sex once a week. Some people, you know, are just not sexual at all. You know, and being with your best friend, you can be open and honest with that person and let them know what you want and what you need. I don't like that, do this, you know, and it's just that open honesty of helping each other to feel good and be your best versions of yourself also is included in the sex part. So for those of you who are sticking around to those toxic relationships because you are afraid of leaving good sex, are you more afraid of leaving good sex, or are you afraid of the STDs, the unplanned pregnancies? And again, ladies, STDs for us can cause cancer and death. HIV, sickness. You know, some of those STDs are the gifts that keep on giving, if you will. So are all of those consequences and being reattached to someone that's not healthy and missing out on your soulmate and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are all of those things worth the good sex? And that's something that you have to answer for yourself. So I see a lot of people that ask questions. I promise I will go back and answer all of the questions that you have. I'm actually seeing someone right now, so I'm going to just say it right now. I was told by my ex that sex was love. He didn't see there was more to it than just sex. Yep. And that's realistically, and you know, and that's what I was saying before, is that guys will more easily, it's more sex is love. We need to be connected to want to have sex. Men want to have sex to feel connected. So it's kind of, it's a little bit different. But again, if you're with your best friend and you're able to communicate, then everything is foreplay. You know, getting to wake up and smile to your best friend. You know, wake up in the morning and you see your best friend, you get to cuddle up to them, or, you know, you had a great experience going to some fun, you know, adventure, you got to go on a trip somewhere, you got to have this great experience. All of that is foreplay. All the 24 hours of the day is foreplay. And then you get to actually have sex, and then that's just amazing. The connection can be wonderful. So you're selling yourself short by not allowing yourself to find your partner, and again, not the perfect person, but the perfect partner for you. They're out there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Of course, as always, you can reach out to me in the group, or you can go to beinglovedshouldn'thurt.com and you can submit any questions that you have by sharing your email address. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.